Ooh, that's scary. Hello, everybody. I'm your host, Matt Diaz, and this is a special Halloween edition of Beyond the Credits. And we are in for a real spooky treat tonight. Thank you. You guys are really supportive.
Yeah.
Very supportive. Yes.
I know I'm scared of you. Right
Yeah. No, I know. I'm terrifying. I'm the Iron. The
Iron Man, Marty McFly.
It's all. Anyway. So to my right, we have our lovely panelist over here, Chris Markcity. How are you doing today? And what are you dressed as?
I'm glad you remembered my name.
Yes.
I'm Flynn Rider from The Gap.
From The Gap. Okay.
It's just the clothes.
Are you excited to be back on the show?
Yeah, of course.
Of course. And Diana Rodriguez, who are you today, and how are you today?
I'm Selena Kyle.
Selena Kyle.
I like to take a break from the mask because then it gets sweaty and sticky.
Yeah, we don't want that on the show.
Nah.
No.
That's Catwoman for those who don't know.
Right now I'm Selena Kyle.
Okay, when you put the mask on. I just revealed.
Way to go.
What a twist.
How are you doing today?
Great. I'm excited to get the spooky going, but whatever.
Whatever. And Chris Nielsen, a.k.a.
Someone else.
Someone else.
Yeah.
It was not Chris Nielsen.
No, it's just me.
Whoa. What?
Yeah.
What?
I know.
I thought we had a new panelist.
Yeah. Wow, this is crazy. All right, so let's get to some news before we get... today we're going to be talking some movie news. We're going to be talking about what scared us as a child.
Okay.
We're going to get into the horror 90s, the horror in early 90s, like 80s, 70s, 50s, 60s, 40s.
That's a lot of decades. Yeah. Okay.
And then we're going to talk about horror today because it's not that scary. And then we're going to bring in some new panelists to talk about the horror stuff. So before we get to that, we're going to talk about some movie news. And first things first, Donald Glover, big news over the weekend. Donald Glover is now casted as Lando Calrissian. Yes.
Sigourney.
Yeah.
Maybe you should say the tough name.
Yeah, I have you guys say the tough names, like your last names. He's been casted in the new Han Solo movie. What do you guys think of this choice?
I don't think anyone's surprised.
I literally jumped with excitement and joy.
That was
a different type of jump scare, I guess, in this show.
Yeah.
I think it was already like fan casted. Like it was like, oh, a dream. Like I had read that people were like, oh man, this would be perfect if they did that. So the fact that they went with it was, I thought, great.
We didn't get him as Spider-Man, but we still got him in Star Wars. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people were saying that he would have been a good Miles Morales.
For sure.
If he was Spider-Man, but Tom Holland will take Tom Holland.
Yeah.
We'll take him as Spider-Man, and I looked at like a splitting image or like a comparison.
Yes,
between Orlando and Donald Glover here, and it looks just like him.
Yeah, he dressed up as Lando once, so there's actually like a good indication of what he'll look like in whatever they call the Han Solo spin. I don't think we have a name for it yet.
No, I think it's just called prequel Han Solo movie.
But it's cool that we're definitely going to see Lando in it and maybe see how Han Solo gets the Millennium Falcon from Lando. That'll be interesting. So. He won the Millennium Falcon off of Lando in a gambling match.
The whole story, that's going to be...
Maybe, I don't know. I think it'll be a part of it. It's just going to be a game. It's going to be them playing space poker. And then at the end, he gets a Millennium Falcon.
21 in space.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Chewie's involved somehow. And then there you go.
He'll probably save Chewie's life, and then Chewie will be like, oh, life debt. And then that's...
life debt.
And then the gang will get together at the end.
There you go.
But glad that he's going to be.
Yeah, I think
I've been a fan of him since his YouTube days, so this is like a big... thing.
I'm really hoping for like a maybe post-credit like Star Wars rap from him.
The Lando rap.
Yeah, like I secretly want this. Well, not very secretly.
Let's keep Star Wars. Yeah. So far, they've done no wrong with the Star Wars so far. I mean, we've only seen one movie, like since they brought it back, and now Rogue One looks pretty good. So with this casting announcement. And the fact that we're getting a Han Solo movie, I think so far it's on the right track.
Mm-hmm.
So far, I'm more excited about the Lando casting than the Han Solo casting.
I feel like a lot of people are. Yeah.
I mean, nothing wrong with the Han Solo casting. It's just Donald Glover.
I guess so. Billy D. Williams could be replaced, but Han Solo. I mean, the Harrison Ford can't.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, so far, if they brought Harrison Ford back for a younger Harrison Ford, I think that would be to play younger Harrison Ford. I think he'd be the only guy. Him and Liam Neeson can probably pull off that.
Liam Neeson playing young Harrison Ford?
No, Liam Neeson playing young Liam
Okay,
Neeson.
I got really confused.
Moving on. It was just announced that Knight Rider is coming back to television. It was originally put out in 1982 by the Hoff, Dan.
The Hoff.
The Hoff.
And Feeney.
What? I forgot his first
Mr.
name.
Feeney.
David Hasselhoff?
David,
Hasselhoff.
yes,
Yeah.
David Hasselhoff. Yes, so he's gonna be. He's not coming back, but
Okay.
more importantly, I feel like I wanted to bring this up because Justin Lin, aka the director of Fast and Furious movies, I believe 5 through 7, also on board to direct the Hot Wheels movie, is now on board to direct this new upcoming TV series. Can this guy do anything else but car movies?
This show has cars too, so it checks out.
Yeah, checks out. I almost like, all right, like you go in the writers' meeting and you're like, all right, we need a director. Well, we only need a person who can direct car movies, or that's part of his
Who does that? Well, there's only one guy.
Yeah,
so.
exactly.
One man
In all
for the
of Hollywood.
job.
Do you guys think that it's weird that he's attached? It was not weird, but like for his as a career move to continue doing car movies. What do you guys think?
I think he should. I don't know. I think he needs to. I mean, clearly he's honing his craft of shooting films with cars, so he's clearly getting jobs for that. It seems like he's the go-to guy. That's a good position to be in, to be like the go-to guy for a certain kind of film. But then again, like in a few years, he's probably going to get fatigue from doing the same kind of shots
Maybe.
over and over again. Or I don't know. Or we might see him get really creative and like redefine car movies. I don't know.
Right.
I mean,
The more he does it, but it seems, but that's kind of a speculation because it seems like he pretty much keeps it the same, like his directing style the same. I don't know. He did Star Trek Beyond, right?
Yes, he did. Yeah.
So that wasn't really called. They weren't really. They were spaceships, but I don't know.
It was still a little bit more. I don't know. It didn't have the feel of the other. That's on a different topic.
Yeah.
But I'll maybe check out the pilot. But I checked out the pilot for the last time they did Knight Rider, and that was in the 2000s, and it didn't catch me. So
Okay, so I mean, hopefully, maybe his vision of
yeah,
his car
Maybe.
vision is. I would hate to see like a director, like, because I mean the Fast and Furious movies when he did it was good, and I would hate to see him go into like a slump.
Yeah.
And I mean I feel like watching, like you said, Star Trek Beyond. I forgot he directed that. He has like this edginess to him, like it's action packed.
Yeah.
So if there's anything like what he brought to Fast and Furious and with the Star Trek, maybe he can bring that edginess to the Hot Wheels movie and also this Knight Rider TV series.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think, I get it. We're laughing because it's like all he does is car movies.
Right.
But when you think about like Michael Bay, like all he does is like explosions.
Right,
You
very
have
true,
those directors and even actors who find like their niche market. And I agree with Chris. Like if you're the go-to guy, cherish that. Your bank account's gonna be really happy, and it's a smart choice. Is it necessarily the most creative or original choice? Absolutely not. But we'll see what he's obviously good at what he does.
Right.
So I'm just more surprised that they're rebooting this after they rebooted
After
it
everything,
like
right.
not that long ago.
Yeah, very true. So
Somebody really wants this to work.
Yeah.
So it's good for him, bad for him. I mean, creative wise, no. Like money wise, he's like you said, yeah, go for it type of deal. Okay. So moving on from there, we have Mr. Vin Diesel, everybody. Mr. Vin Diesel.
I like the pose.
Yeah, like he's about to fight. These are fighting words he's about
Mama
to say,
said
but
knock you out.
What'd you say about the Fast and Furious franchise?
Yeah, I know, right? He stated that Fast 8, it's gonna win an Oscar. Are we all buying? Do we all believe that this movie that's coming out in I believe April of next year is gonna have any ranking of an Oscar movie?
Maybe best original song. That's the only thing that they see.
Yeah.
Seriously. Okay.
Such a sweeping statement to make about a movie that's not even.
It's not even out yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I look through the its history, seeing like what precedent it had for like winning an Oscar, and it's won a few like People's Choice, like MTV Movie Awards, and even like an IGN Summer Movies like Best Action, but it hasn't even gotten near the like awards circuit yet.
Right.
So I wouldn't get.
I wouldn't
hopes
count
up.
on it. Right. I mean, he came out also. He stated that this movie is going to be different from its predecessors, and it's going to be very dark, and his character is conflicted in a way that is really going to shock the audience.
Oh, so Vin Diesel's character is
He's
going to be
gonna
dark
become
and
a cop.
brooding.
Yeah.
Never seen that before. I don't know if you can pull it off. I'm not sure.
I don't think he's ever been conflicted in any of the other ones.
He
I
always
mean,
seems to know
Yeah, I think family is always his go-to. Anything.
He's got a great moral compass.
He definitely knows what he wants.
Hey, the pacifier, right? He was.
Yeah, that was all about family too, right? Yeah,
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Kids,
so
babysit. I don't
he
know.
definitely knows what he wants. But yeah, I mean, I think there came a surprise, at least in my head anyway, when Mad Max became all over the Oscar.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Before seeing, did you see it and then still?
I saw the movie and
wow.
then I was surprised that it got nominated.
It swept.
And it swept,
Yeah.
right?
I'm so pissed.
Because the reason why I say that is because
That's too
not a
much.
lot of action-packed movies get nominated. It's always like.
But it was a really well-crafted action movie.
Yes,
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah.
And they use a lot of practical effects and
And a lot of CGI. But that's the thing that
Right.
like
You
it was
can
well used CGI because no one was like, wow, look at that CGI.
Right.
It was only after the fact where they're like, hey, look what we shot, and then look what we, how much
What
we
you saw,
edited it, and
yeah.
it was like a lot. That
Yeah, I
they,
think it'll hold up in terms of like if we watch this years and years later, it's not gonna be like, oh, look how weird that CGI looks.
Right.
So is maybe
exactly.
that the precedent for why maybe he thinks Fast 8's gonna do?
I have no idea. I mean, maybe he sees where this is. Like, he's been on set. They filmed it. They're editing it, and whatever
Yeah.
they're doing right now. He's like, I can see him just going there. Like, yep, this is an Oscar one, guys. I think we did it. I think we're gonna get an Oscar or anything really.
Yeah.
But I mean, if it's gonna be different, this is definitely launching. The Fast 8 is definitely gonna be an interesting one since Fast 7 is almost a send off to Paul Walker's character.
But he's bringing it back.
JK.
Yeah, but now he might be bringing the character back. Not necessarily the right choice, but
Yeah.
I mean, definitely they're going to be in a different direction since Paul Walker is no longer with us. So we'll see where this goes. I mean,
TBD.
yeah, I'm not really counting on the whole Oscar bit. So anyway,
Interesting statement.
yeah. Anyway,
We'll
moving
look
on.
at it, yeah.
Deadpool
Ah.
in all of his glory. It became one of the largest grossing rated R movies of all time, and it just lost its director,
Yeah.
Tim Miller. It was over due to creative differences. This is
With Ryan Reynolds. Right?
But yeah.
with Ryan Reynolds. They said that what they wanted, they envisioned a scrappy, raunchy, inexpensive movie, just similar to the first one. And it says Tim Miller's, on the other hand, was reported that he wanted a stylistic take on the movie, big budget temples, and it would cost 3 times more than the original movie.
Yeah, and it was also over the casting of Cable because they said that Cable is going to be in the movie.
In the
They
movie,
said-
yeah, at the
he's
very
like,
end.
Cable's going to be in it.
Yeah,
exactly, yeah.
So like,
Which I think you can't have Deadpool without Cable if you're gonna continue his story.
Yeah. I mean, because that was a huge. They're like a duo in
Yeah,
the comics,
yeah.
and that's very like a popular duo.
Right,
so you want to
yeah.
have the stoic kind of Cable versus the wisecracking, Wade Wilson. So they had Kyle Chandler, I think, from Friday Night Lights and some other thing. He's had his face out there for a while. I think
Right.
Tim Miller wanted Kyle Chandler.
Right.
Ryan Reynolds did not want Kyle Chandler. And since Ryan Reynolds was kind of helped with the viral video push of that test footage they had before
Right.
Deadpool even came out, like he was part of the reason why it actually eventually got made. I'm pretty sure he got like a producer credit.
Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was.
Yeah, so I guess he did have that authority
Yeah, I mean,
to
yeah.
have those creative differences versus him. But like I'm pretty surprised that after the success of the first one that Tim Miller would want to just completely kind of like change
the
it up. I can
tone.
see that like whenever you're making the sequel, you have that crossroads of,
Right.
are you going to try to do the same thing
Exactly.
but better, or are you just going to go off and do like
New story.
like Logan is a whole different take on what Wolverine is doing or whatnot. Like this is the same. Like they're like, okay, should we do that or should we just make Deadpool 2?
Right.
It would have been interesting. I'm not. A lot of people are on Ryan Reynolds' side on this, but I think that Tim Miller. I don't know. I think I actually would have liked to see like a stylized version that wasn't a lot like the first one, but keep what Ryan Reynolds brought to the character from it, and kind of like put him in a different like environment, not the
guys'
same one as
thoughts on-
before. But yeah.
I totally trust Ryan Reynolds wholeheartedly. I mean, I would say he's more than a small part. I feel like he is the reason that
Oh yeah, I
Deadpool
mean, he
got
definitely
made.
brings. I can feel like there's a lot of ad lib coming.
And this
to
is his
him,
passion. Like he even said, he's like, oh yeah, my wife says Deadpool is like my alter ego. So this is a man that is like ride or die Deadpool. So I definitely trust his artistic direction, and I'm excited to see what other director can kind of pick up and where they're gonna go with it. I would love to see Edgar Wright pick it up and see how he would. I feel like he would be a
That'd be an
good fit
interesting
where
take,
he's
yeah.
very clever. I don't know. I just really love his movies, and I think his style would be really fun for like that tongue-in-cheek kind of style that Deadpool is. So I mean, I'm all for it. I mean, it sucks that Tim Miller they couldn't agree,
Right.
but at the end of the day, it just opens the doors for something else.
I agreed. Moving on to our last bit here. Jessica Jones was just in the news recently, and it was, stated that all 13 episodes are going to be directed by women.
Mm-hmm.
And how are our thoughts on that as far as what we've seen from the show and now knowing that, I mean, does it really affect the show in any way that it's going to be, directed by all women, or is that like an accomplishment for like women directors that they get to cover an entire
Yeah, I'm not sure it would be like noticeable if we didn't know
Yeah.
beforehand or whatnot. That's not. I mean, like that's.
Right,
I
yeah,
don't
just
think
thought,
so.
yeah.
I think it's good because there are a lot of. I think there are a lot. Female directors are finding so much success in television, and they're finding success in really great television shows.
Right.
Breaking Bad. I can't think of her name, but there's a director who directs a lot of Breaking Bad episodes,
Right.
Game of Thrones. I think she directed a Westworld episode. Like she's doing some like big budget,
Right.
very high
Top-notch.
quality, top notch like television. And I think she might be one of them. That's directing Jessica Jones.
Very
But
nice. You guys, quick thoughts on it?
Yeah, I mean, I looked through season 1 just out of curiosity, and it was it was 2 directors for it was the episode 1,000 Cuts and the one right after.
Right.
Yeah, but I couldn't tell,
Right. I mean, I think it's a good thing that Marvel's doing. Having taking that leap and having all women direct an entire season, because I think that's good because you don't see that often.
Yeah.
You don't see all women take over a show, and I think that's something. I believe Unreal is another one that has an all women directing cast who does their shows.
I mean, it's definitely an
Right.
accomplishment, but I don't think it'll be.
Oh no, I wouldn't
like
say it would
the-
change anything at all. I'm just saying,
Yeah.
I think it's like an accomplishment for women directors
No,
out
some
there.
people can make the argument like, oh, now that it's all women directors, are they gonna see something that like male directors couldn't?
Right.
I don't think so. I think
Okay.
it'll be good.
All right, we have a lot more to talk about once we return. We're going to get into creepy. What really scared us as a child, because there's a lot of crazy, creepy things
That
out there,
mask scares
and
me
that mask
as
is
a
one of
child.
them. So we will be right back after this break.
Oh, they're gonna do-
If you could run the software you need on all of them, well, now you can. UCF Apps is a new and innovative way for you to access the applications that you need to get your coursework done from any PC, Mac, tablet, or smartphone. For more information or to give your input on UCF Apps, go to apps.ucf.edu. What are you waiting for? Start using UCF Apps today.
Lake Claire's Universities of Central Florida's place for relaxation, tranquility, and a good time. Students who crave the outdoors can experience the wonders of Lake Claire and all the benefits it has to offer. Lake Claire offers a wide variety of kayaks, wakeboards, canoes, and much, much more. All of this is free for UCF students and can be rented out every day of the year except for on football game days. Students can take advantage of the wide open spaces and throw around a frisbee with your friends, or attack the ball with our sandy volleyball court. Come by the dock, sit down, and enjoy the beautiful view of Lake Claire's clear blue waters. Located just off the side of Gemini Boulevard and Greek Park Drive, this bubble of nature is one you must check out after finals week. For more information and rentals, visit our website so you can enjoy Lake Claire today.
Today, when you have multiple devices at your fingertips, wouldn't it be great if you could run the software you need on all of them? Well, now you can. UCF Apps is a new and innovative way for you to access the applications that you need to get your coursework done from any PC, Mac, tablet, or smartphone. For more information or to give your input on UCF Apps, go to apps.ucf.edu. What are you waiting for? Start using UCF Apps today.
All right, welcome back, everybody. I'm your host, Matt Diaz. These are my lovely panelists, and we're starting with the Halloween episode, or our special spooky episode. And
Yes.
you okay there, Chris?
This mustache is really bothering me. It's getting in my mouth, so I'm just taking it off.
This is put it off. All right, fair enough. So when we were children, things scared can scare us a lot easier than most. And so we're gonna talk about things that scared us as a child, whether it was a horror movie or not. And I feel like that's something that's worth exploring. So Chris Markcity, we're gonna start with you. Give me one thing that really terrified you as a kid. Movie or TV show, whatever one.
It was a movie called Spirited Away.
Okay.
Oh God.
Early 2000s. My grandfather thought he was doing a nice thing by taking me and my brother to go see a movie, and that's the only movie to date that I have ever walked out on. I begged him. I was like, Grandpa, can we please go?
Let's see why you walked out on that. Would that really terrify you as a
Sad
kid?
thing is, I didn't even get to that part.
You went before that.
What
part?
Yeah, I want to see.
Honestly, it was like the family was driving their car and like they found this weird place where they stopped and ate for food, and like the parents got in like a trance and just kept on eating, and like she recognized and she like ran off and got into this whole world. But, like the idea that
your parents overeating is like
it was my parents overeating and then getting turned into a meal that I then was supposed to consider, like that whole.
But did you get to the part where they were the meal?
No.
So it's just the overeating that
I
was
got to the part where she was like, "I need to rescue them," and I was like, no. So then, he was like, "Sorry about that," and he was like, "I'll make it up to you guys. We'll go out to eat for dinner tonight." He took us out to a Chinese buffet. And again, that's like
if it was a Japanese buffet, that would have been like, right? Because Miyazaki.
Yeah, but like, so I was terrified of eating my parents that dinner.
I mean, then again, early 2000s.
Just that dinner.
How old would you say you were?
I don't know. It's like third grades. I was like
6, 7, 8, 9,
Yeah.
whatever third grade is.
Third grade's like 11.
I mean, just
That's like 11.
First grade. Whatever.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm bad at this.
Either way, this image right here is terrifying.
Yeah.
Regardless, for any child to see. I don't even know what it is. It's weird.
It's a lot going on.
And there's also, I think there's a dead pig there
Severed
too.
pig head.
Wait, it doesn't look like
And maybe a
live
fish.
pig.
No, definitely not a live pig. But yeah, I mean, definitely this image is
That was
not-
a very creepy movie. There were some images in it, but such I don't know, it was a very.
No, it's great. It kind of.
Now looking back at it, I mean, does it still give you like looking back at this movie
I want to
today?
go back and rewatch it because I think I'll be able to get through it this time. But, like
It's all about the story.
Yeah.
So you hadn't seen it since?
I haven't seen it since.
Okay, and then it is embedded in your mind, and now I just brought it back. You're welcome.
I say we
This is
get
gonna
some
haunt my
Chinese
dreams.
takeout
And
and watch this.
we'll watch
It's gotta
all
be
of it.
buffet. He's gonna stuff his face.
All right, let's Diana, let's move on to you. Give me what's really freaked you out?
Actually, it's funny you say that when you're kids you get scared more because I feel the exact opposite. Like I feel like as a child not much fazed me, but now
Okay.
I'm like I can't watch scary things and then sleep the next day. One of the few ones that slipped through the cracks though was definitely Large Marge from Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
Take a look at Large March.
Yeah. And I think the biggest thing, it was obviously the shock factor because here you are watching a movie that eventually turned into like, that he had a kids show. So it had nothing, that wasn't the tone of the movie at all. Like there was no scariness. He's just a guy looking for his bicycle and then this happens. And I felt misled and I felt deceived.
Was it like a jump scare then?
It was like
okay.
so like she's driving he's like hitchhiking and she's the truck driver and they're just talking and she's talking about this curse that like this night every year there's this person died and blah blah blah. Then he turns to him and then it goes from normal face to that like
See,
wah.
that's what creeped me out about Bilbo Baggins and Fellowship of the Ring. When he just turns and is like, "No, I want the ring, like mine." Like
yeah, like it was
out of nowhere.
It didn't fit the rest of the movie.
Right.
So
Usually there's like a creepy music cue before something like that happens. But
nope.
that's
Megatron just
So just Pee Wee Herman just harmlessly looking for his bike, and all of a sudden you see this image. It can't be quite. I mean, this isn't a friendly photo at all.
No, that's pretty much the worst of it. But yeah, that's. Yeah, that's like I was like I had to be like 6 or 5 when I saw this.
It's not flattering at all.
Nah.
All right, let's go with you, Chris.
the first one was Ghost Rider.
Yeah. So
Okay.
give us
There
a
was this
history
old show called Ghost Rider, and all these kids.
Writer.
Like writer. Yeah, writer, not like writer with Nicolas Cage. But they were writing this story about this slime monster, and as they wrote it, the slime monster came to life, and eventually, it's horrifying. Look at that. What?
It looks like Chucky meets Dr. Ooze or Mr.
It looks
Ooze
like
or
Sylvester
whatever.
Stallone now, but purple. but yeah, it's like for some reason throughout the whole it was like a 3-episode arc.
Oh, damn.
That they had all the this slime monster chasing them, and they showed like these kids getting caught in this glue this goop, this purple goop, and then getting eaten. I mean, they don't like show them getting eaten, but they're getting picked off. And like this whole time, it walks weird. It's got that face. It's like
I'm gonna get you.
yeah, and like they're the ones that are causing the problem. It's like oh, what should we do next? Oh, Alejandro gets chased by the blah blah blah, and then it shows like Alejandro's like running for his life, and they're the ones causing the problems. And then they have these blood curdling screams when they come across the ooze. It was just a very
Trauma. It sounds
It
traumatizing.
was, and it was just on TV one time, and I'm like, what is happening? Like they have this. They also have in the
I'm not
corner of the
sleeping
tonight.
screen,
Yeah, I know,
in the corner of the
exactly.
screen, they had this like purple ooze coming down in certain
Like on the
parts of
actual
it
screen?
to like add the effect, like it's really happening, like it's coming for you or something like that. I don't know. It was
Definitely, all these 3 images are not family
Yeah.
friendly at all. Let's go back to you, Chris Markcity. What was the other, kind of quickly, but other thing that kind of scared you when you
Second
were?
one, it was a Disney shorts compilation called Scary Tales.
Okay.
That was
not
one of
usually
them.
something you think that.
Yeah. Those. So
That was
we
one
have.
of them. It was called Donald and the Gorilla. So and the plot of that is like Donald, Huey, Dewey, and Louie are like alone in their house during a thunderstorm when on the radio it says a gorilla escaped, and
And now the gorilla was found,
and
and so
then they
like
found
so
Donald.
it
so-
tries to eat him, and it's terrifying.
Yeah, and that's like this image right here. If we can go back to that, this image so far we have Donald. It's kind of squished on the table, and then a gorilla terrifying him.
He's really in distress. Like, look at that face.
It's. I mean, this image maybe just was taken from the clip from the short. But like,
Yeah.
did the gorilla scare you? Is that
Yeah.
what it was? It was just terrifying.
It was just like angry and feral. Yeah, it was just I can't describe it.
Was it
just,
overeating too?
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah, but
Alright.
the Scary Tales. It started with that, and it ended with something called Pluto's Judgment Day, where Pluto just straight up goes to hell.
Okay, all right. So
For kids.
For kids, yeah, why not? Disney at its finest. Yes. We don't see that from Disney now. It's all family friendly.
Yeah.
Well, have you seen like the Mickey shorts that they have now?
I
Like Goofy
haven't.
looks like
He looks weird.
he
they're
looks
not
like he's
going to
been
hell,
on.
Yeah.
Yeah, but he looks like a meth head.
All right, so Diana, let's see. What was your next image that, as a child, just not having it for you?
Okay, so the only movie as a child that I ever cried in a movie theater was Men in Black.
So
Yeah.
we'll just keep this image up. So this guy went from this,
Yeah.
then moved on to this.
Yeah,
and
he's
then-
like a cockroach alien who takes on the body of a human to try to deceive like the other, just to blend in.
and then
if
later
you will.
he turned to that. So,
That
I
is
mean,
his final form.
Like
yes.
I mean the whole process is not flattering at all.
No, and then like the sound effects just sounded way too real. They did a really good job, like too good of a job. Where I went from being like, okay, I'm a little creeped out. Like as he progressed, I progressed. I went from like, okay, I'm not a fan of this. I don't like this. Now I'm crying. Now I'm screaming and crying, and we're leaving the movie theater.
That smile that he had in the larva stage or whatnot.
Yeah,
That's creepy.
the one right before.
Yeah, right
yeah.
before. Let's go
eyes.
back
For
to
For
that.
me, it
There
was
you
mostly
go.
there's a scene where he
He
like.
puts his hand down, like they crawl out. That was for me. That was
For me, it was like he like kills someone, and then like to hide the body on the on the ceiling, he like it's like this phlegmy green slime, and then they died. He's like the dead's body there, and I'm just like,
But that was right after that.
I'm
scene.
out. That was where I was like, nope, and I noped out of there. So yeah.
And did you end up walking out of the theater, or you cried out of the theater, or you stayed through the whole thing?
I forced my aunt. I screamed at her, "Get me out of
Get you
here!"
out of there, okay. And lastly, Chris,
I really did have trouble trying to find like a movie or a television show. I even asked like my family, like, what was I scared of as a kid? And they're like, I'm not really sure. And then it came to me. It's not even a scare. I was thinking horror movies and stuff like that. There was a show called Zoobly Zoo. And look at that. Please, someone agree with me that this is kids shouldn't be like looking at these faces. Like that guy at the top.
The
Look at
fox.
that. That's scary. Yeah, the fox is the worst. He scared me the most.
Chris, just for you.
And it was like a musical like theme like they
I
taught
wish
kids
I
about.
could hear it.
Yeah,
All
no,
right, just go ahead and play it.
All right, so we're gonna play the theme song of Zoobity Loo.
We've heard this like 5 times a day prepping anyways.
Let's just go ahead and take a look at this.
I'm numb to it. Whoa, that was a close
See,
one.
they're all like too animated, and it's just.
It's a kids show. Of course they're exhausted.
I know, but it's creepy.
Like,
I mean,
and to the
it's-
town of
This is why kids are the way they are.
I feel like kids wouldn't, like, if we showed this to them, they'd
This is
simmer
definitely
down.
not for
I feel like
children
kids see
anymore.
this and then grow up too fast.
Grow
Yeah.
up too fast. It's just
It's
it's like one of those
become-
things. It's trying too hard to be
lose
fun,
something
and
about
that's
themselves
They
by
lose
watching
some
it.
innocence.
Just a terrifying look into. I mean, definitely they don't make cartoons.
They don't
They
make
don't
them
make
like
children's
this
shows like this
anymore.
anymore.
yeah, and for good reason
Yeah,
too. It was on some
definitely for good
dusty
reason.
VHS that I watched, and it was. I watched like the first 15 minutes. I'm like, I can't handle this. It actually, I did have nightmares
That's
from
pretty
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, definitely it does not look flattering whatsoever.
No.
But that was an inside look at your. Thank you for sharing your inner demons.
you're welcome.
Yeah, I know. I just said anything for the show. So when we come back, we're gonna talk about the actual horror film genre with new panelists. So thank you guys for coming on the show, and
Yeah, you're welcome.
we're back after this break.
Welcome back, everyone. Chef Nicole here at our studio kitchen to tell you about the fantastic new breakthrough in cutlery, the Dyna Blade. This knife is the latest in cutting technology. Also, it's extremely safe to use. Okay, folks. Wow. Yeah, that blade sure does cut. Hey, Jim, where's Jim? I'm losing a lot of blood here, guys. Jim, can we cut, please? I'm really starting to feel woozy.
I love my new Dyna Blade. I can cut through anything, and it's super safe. Oh, I did it. Guys, I cut myself. It's not safe.
She's out, guys. Can somebody call an ambulance, please? And cut to the logo. Oh, God, where's her finger? Oh, God, I'm gonna be sick. I can't find a pulse. I can't find a pulse.
I don't know what's wrong with me, Doc. I think I'm just having an existential issue, maybe. What if I'm a nihilist?
I know just a cure.
Ah, gee, Doc. Anything.
It's called MDPL, multidimensional perspective layering, and it's known to have strong effects on the human psyche. It results in the restoration of confidence and a sense of one's place in the universe.
Oh, man, that sounds like the perfect solution to make me myself again.
Well, here goes nothing.
Side effects of multidimensional perspective layering include, but are not limited to, extreme fits of happiness, loss of agitation, loss of stress, loss of world peace, a new sense of connectivity with your fellow man, random acts of kindness.
All right, well, hello everybody. Welcome to Beyond the Credits. I'm your host, Matt Diaz, and these are my lovely new panelists. And today, for the rest of the show, we're going to be talking about the horror film genre. So to my right, we have newcomer Andi Marlow. How are you doing? How are you feeling today?
I am doing good. A little spooky today.
A little spooky. Are you excited to be on the show talking about horror?
I'm excited to get spooky, and I'm excited just to talk about horror in general.
And to her left, we have Danny. Not Danny. Wow, that's our director. We have Devon Maldonado.
Almost.
Almost.
Devon Maldonado.
I'm gonna get it eventually.
You can do it. You can do it.
I'm gonna get it next time. I swear. How are you doing? How are you feeling today on our special Halloween episode?
I'm doing great.
Doing great.
This is actually like my favorite genre to talk about. So
awesome.
I think
and this is why you guys are on the show, because horror. From I told you guys are all about horror.
Yes.
And so we're gonna get into that right now. So first, for anybody who does not know movies, let's give them a brief definition. What does the horror genre mean to you guys? We'll start off there. Andi, we'll start with you.
Horror to me means just breaking boundaries and just scaring the crap out of people. It's meant to kind of mess with your mind and just push the limits of what normal movies wouldn't. Like Stephen King said, movies are dreams, whereas scary movies, horror films, are nightmares.
Nightmares, yeah.
So that's what it means to me.
Devon, what is your thoughts on the definition of what a horror genre means to you?
For me, a horror movie is, the point of it is to make you uncomfortable. It's supposed to be like you're watching it and like it's not like an action movie where it's characters that are in a bad situation but they can do something about it. The whole appeal of horror movies is that you're watching these characters in this horrible situation and they can't do anything about it, and that's where the the fact that it's out of your control.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. But that's an interesting point you put out, putting characters in uncomfortable situations and they can't do anything about it. I mean, that's that's for me a great definition of what horror is, because you see these characters go through this, and even horror games or horror movies or anything, and you can't do anything.
Exactly. Like, horror games are a great example, because like a lot of the horror games, you don't really have a manner of interacting with the like bad guys. Like you just have to run from them. You have to hide, and that's where the tense gameplay comes from. But we're not talking about video games.
No, we're not. I mean,
if we're talking about video games, a whole other day.
But I mean, you do make a good point. With video games, you are immersely in there, but with movies, you're kind of just watching these characters, and you kind of feel for them. Whether you're well, there's two ways you can see this. One, you could be like, "Ha ha, you're gonna die," or you can be like, "Oh no, you're going to die." I mean, you can really take a horror film in any genre with really. I feel like this is one of the few you can take that in two different ways. You can't really take it as people can take it lightly, or people can take it lightly, or people can take it like really funny and campy. So, but anyway, let's get into. Let's see when did horror really start for you guys? I mean, not for you guys, but like what time point do you think horror really started?
I always say we're going to go way back to the 20s. The 1920s is what I think is just when horror started, because that's when you had the first ever, like, quote unquote, they classify this as the first ever horror movie with the cabinet of, I forgot how to say his name.
We heard that from a distance. The cabinet of Dr. Caligari,
something.
Caligari.
Yeah,
it's a German silent film, and that's what people classify as it being the first ever horror film. And I believe that horror started in the 20s and 30s, because that's when you started to see the monster movies, which is what I love.
Let's get into that monster movie. It's kind of like where all black and white. The more popular ones are the Universal monsters. In my book, you have kind of created with Dracula and Frankenstein.
Mm-hmm.
You have the Mummy,
the Wolfman.
Exactly.
I feel like I'm missing one or two more. The swamp.
Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Yeah, Creature from the Black Lagoon. And you kind of started from there, and you just had these creatures who are not normal.
Yeah.
But what are you guys' thoughts on at least that starting out and like more became, I guess, popular was those monster movies?
Well, I mean, I really enjoy The Creature with the Black Lagoon. That's one of my top favorite monster movies, because at the time, the costume and effects and makeup that they did was, you can watch it today and it'd still be a fantastic movie, and you'd still think the effects were just as great. But I personally enjoy the monster movies because it gives you a different look, and we're so used to like Alien and Robot, where this is like a completely different idea. It was original, and that's what I enjoy about it. Where we didn't see it at the time,
right? And
I kind of miss that nowadays. Like, I want my monsters back. That's just the OG that I love.
Well, you're gonna get them back because they're rebooting them.
I didn't even know that.
Yeah. Fun news today. Just a quick. Universal's bringing back all their monster movies, but they're trying to tie them in together in one big connected
so it's like
universe.
Avengers meets monsters.
with monsters. Yeah, so we'll see how that plans out, and looks like Tom Cruise is leading the whole thing. Anyway, I know that's a different matter. Yeah, but yeah, Devon, what do you think about the whole monster movie genre?
Monster movies, I've never been big into them. Like the older monster movies, I can't say that I'm familiar with them. Like when I think of like monster movies, the ones that come to mind are like the ones that you see in like the 80s, like Alien and like Predator and things like that. Okay. And because technically those are monsters, but they fall more under your like aliens and ghosts.
This is where we disagree.
But let's move on to that. So give us like an idea, like different types of horror films that were like being brought up back in the day. So we had the monsters, moving from there, at least even moving to more recent ones that we considered like all the costumes are based off those monsters. Yeah. So you have, or not monsters, but more like classified as like slasher horror films.
Well, like Scream.
Right, exactly.
That's a good example. Well, Scream is the slasher. But it's also, it's not a monster, but it's just like the mask.
Right, exactly.
The face you see, you don't know who, like what it is. You end up finding out who.
You just know it's somebody in like a costume.
I feel like there's a lot of movies that are like that. You know, a man running around in a costume trying to kill somebody, or killing a whole bunch of people and trying to find the mystery of that is. And then you have movies like the
Nightmare on Elm
Street,
Street,
yes,
yeah.
and Jason, who
The Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th. Yeah, wow. I don't know why I'm blanking on those names. Yes, but you have those movies, or now they're sequels based on those, and so like where does that fit into this whole like those type of movies?
That I think when it like Friday the 13th, Halloween, Nightmare on Elm Street, those are the movies I think people our age remember the most.
Right.
They're the pinnacle of just horror movies, in my opinion, and that starts with the mask murderers, I guess you would say, whereas like monsters are completely different beings. And I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan of like Halloween and Texas Chainsaw Massacre because that's where it gets more gory and more the slashers.
That's what I like.
And that's what he likes. Like we're too different.
And then so about that, why does that appeal to you more than like with hers with the monster movies? Why does that appeal more to you as far as horror?
I like visceral. I don't mind. Like the thing is, like I'm not squeamish about like blood and gore and stuff like that. Like I can watch like surgeries and things like that because it's fun, it's interesting. But I like seeing it in movies because like that is something that makes people very uncomfortable. Like body horror is very scary and very creepy. Like you can think about like people losing like fingernails and things like that. Like that's cringy. Like you can think to the Final Destination movies are a good example of that.
That's another one, yeah.
And that can tie in back to what you said about like people like making death seem funny or like anticipating deaths or like not wanting the character to die.
And kind of rooting or not rooting for them depending on how you're viewing the movie.
Yeah.
But like I mean, just going like again, like we had the monsters and now we have this transition over time of now become like, you know, like we said before, people our age would know Scream, Halloween, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, A Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, and that is associated with blood and gore. And now I feel like in the next segment we'll talk about this, but like that transition into what we see today is just like if it's a horror movie, it needs blood. It needs like at what point? Why do you feel like it's necessary to show like horror movie? Oh yeah, that's blood. Instead of horror movie, they're just like creepy monsters.
Yeah. I think blood is necessary because it has to go with that lack of control again. That like once your guts are spilling out, you can't really do anything about it. You know, especially like when your friends are all scattering, running away from like whoever, Jason or Freddy, and like you're just stuck there. You're dead. You're done. And that's where a lot of like the uncomfortable stuff comes from. Like Evil Dead is a good example of this because like it's lots of blood and gore. And you see a group drop one by one, like they get picked off, and that's what's really uncomfortable until finally you're left with Bruce Campbell, and
then his own TV show.
Yeah, and then he gets a TV show.
And then he gets a TV show. Yes. What are your thoughts about this?
I think with blood, it's like what you're saying. It's the believable factor. Where like these things can happen to me, whereas monsters, like these aren't real. Like we know they're not real, and that's why it's like with horror movies, we want them to believe this, and we have blood.
Right.
We don't want to have our like blood out of us. Like,
right. Yeah. It's relatable.
Yeah, it relates, and we can kind of put ourselves into that, and that's what makes it more spooky, in my opinion.
Oh wow, there's a lot of blood in that guy. There's a lot of blood in me.
It's like my blood.
I get it now. I mean, no one wants to be chased around with a gun or an axe or a sword.
I'm not wanting to die.
A knife or anything like that. So when we come back, we'll talk more about the horror genre in general, and especially how it transitioned into today's. Today, because we don't really get what we used to get back in the 80s and 90s. So when we come back, we're going to talk more about the horror genre, and we're back after this break.
Today, when you have multiple devices at your fingertips, wouldn't it be great if you could run the software you need on all of them? Well, now you can. UCF Apps is a new and innovative way for you to access the applications that you need to get your coursework done from any PC, Mac, tablet, or smartphone. For more information or to give your input on UCF Apps, go to apps.ucf.edu. What are you waiting for? Start using UCF Apps today.
Lake Claire's Universities of Central Florida's place for relaxation, tranquility, and a good time. Students who crave the outdoors can experience the wonders of Lake Claire and all the benefits it has to offer. Lake Claire offers a wide variety of kayaks, wakeboards, canoes, and much, much more. All of this is free for UCF students and can be rented out every day of the year except for on football game days. Students can take advantage of the wide open spaces and throw around a frisbee with your friends, or attack the ball with our sandy volleyball court. Come by the dock, sit down, and enjoy the beautiful view of Lake Claire's clear blue waters. Located just off the side of Gemini Boulevard and Greek Park Drive, this bubble of nature is one you must check out after finals week. For more information and rentals, visit our website so you can enjoy Lake Claire today.
Today, when you have multiple devices at your fingertips, wouldn't it be great if you could run the software you need on all of them? Well, now you can. UCF Apps is a new and innovative way for you to access the applications that you need to get your coursework done from any PC, Mac, tablet, or smartphone. For more information or to give your input on UCF Apps, go to apps.ucf.edu. What are you waiting for? Start using UCF Apps today.
All right, welcome back, everybody, to Beyond the Credits. I'm your host, Matt Diaz. These are my lovely panelists, and we are still talking about horror because this is our special Halloween episode. And so let's get right back to it. So the horror genre, I feel like, in today's standard, like the early 2000s, when I feel like when people think of horror films, I feel like they do go back to what we grew up with. Halloween, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Friday the 13th, stuff like that. But today, when you say, like, oh, what's your favorite horror movie, you get those answers.
Yeah.
You don't get anything that's new, exactly. And why do you think that is? Like, what has changed between maybe the 80s, 90s, into the early 2000s and today? Like, they don't really talk about the horror films.
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of horror films that come out today, they're a lot shorter. They're a lot shorter now. Because, like, you can look back and you can look at, like, The Evil Dead, or you can look at, like, Brain Dead, and they're almost 2 hours long each. So they have more time to for exposition on like character development, that sort of thing. And then you look to like newer movies or newer horror movies, and a lot of them are mostly they're
yeah, the mic is like the clicking of the pen. Yeah. I've learned. I just stick it up here. Yeah. But anyway, you're saying
it's mostly shorter movies, so that like they rush through it quicker. So the example that I'm thinking of with this is the Blair Witch Project versus the new Blair Witch.
Right. Yeah. Let's talk about that briefly. I mean, because that's something that's a reboot, and I feel like they get a lot.
It's
of
also
those.
a continuation of the original.
Okay, so it's a sequel.
Yeah.
Okay, so what about the Blair Witch Project from then than it is today?
The original Blair Witch Project, I feel it was a slower burn. Like, it focused more on like the deterioration of the relationship between all the characters as they were stuck in the woods, and things started to get a lot harder for them because they couldn't get their way out. And then the witch really doesn't even come into play until like the last third of the movie, where they're really dealing with like the paranormal things, and most of it is just them having trouble being stuck in the woods for so long without the supplies. And you go to the newer Blair Witch, the one that just released a couple weeks ago, and while it's the same director, it's a lot faster paced. Like it speeds up. They're in the woods. They start arguing, the characters are fighting, and they split up into two groups, and then the witch comes, and it's the witch is already a thing, like probably like 2/5 of the way into the movie, versus like it being saved for the end.
Right.
And then you also, I noticed that you actually see the witch in the Blair Witch versus the original project, where you never really see it on camera. It's just mostly like noises off screen and like the.
That's what makes it scary in my
Yeah.
opinion.
So I mean, like. And that's something that's interesting you brought up. Showing the monster, and hearing the monster is like that's two different fears. I mean, you're kind of with the idea of like, I don't know where it is or what it is, but it's here, and that's something almost paranormal about it. And then you have the stuff that, here it is, and we're gonna scare you of the image, or we're going to scare you with the idea of the image. Yeah. And one of the popular ones today, and I think they just recently finished off their franchise finally, is the Paranormal Activity franchise.
Yeah.
It was just an entity that swarmed 6 films, if I'm not mistaken.
How, but
yeah, exactly. And but that idea of horror, I almost feel like that's somewhat what we might be getting today, at least with that franchise. I mean, do you agree or disagree, Andy?
Well, I feel like with today horror, it's just remakes. It seems like everyone's taking an idea that's already happened and it's a new director and they're putting their own twist on it. And that's great because with new technology, you can have it look less fake.
Right.
You can make it more believable. In certain movies that works, but then there's certain movies that fall. And I think that's why, going back to why no one remembers new movies, is because they were the old movies. We remember the original one, and everyone wants to be that hipster and say, "Oh, the original is the best."
Right, exactly, right. Even movies today, like I feel the one that gets high praise, at least in the last couple of years or so, was Insidious. Have you guys?
Yes.
I've seen Insidious.
Okay.
Yeah.
Would you classify that as something that can be down as a classic or something that people talk about, or at least that maybe not that movie specific? Well, that movie specifically, but like as far as like from what we've know about the horror genre and moving forward from that for me kind of stuck in there. Like that one I remember of today. Like Insidious. Yeah, that one went through with I think 3 movies or 2 movies or so. And so, what do you guys think about that?
I liked Insidious. I think it was a pretty good movie. I never saw the sequel, Insidious 2, but I enjoyed it. But whenever I think to those movies, like I always get like hung up on the movies like Sinister. Sinister was bad. Like I didn't like it at all.
I didn't like Sinister either.
Like
would you feel like this movie was it copying an original? Was Insidious an original idea?
I don't think Insidious copied like a previous film, but like the idea of the paranormal, that's always been around. It's like I think Insidious is a great movie for new age horror because it put the own twist, and you have Darth Maul in it. It's not actually Darth Maul, but whenever people talk about today, that I have talked about, like friends say with new age horror, the movie they always say is Insidious. It's like, that really scared me. Like that's the movie I will remember. And so I think it's the movie that is going to kind of be the movie that people remember. I don't think it's at the level of Friday the 13th.
I wouldn't call it a classic. Yeah.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And again, it's kind of going back to why isn't like today's movies instant classics? And it's kind of sad. Like it's almost like the horror genre is being pushed off as like campy remakes.
I think that
That didn't scare you at all. Not at all. Good try, though. Very good try. I saw like just murmuring there.
I'm sorry.
Try on the other side, maybe. Yeah. Good. Yeah. Happy Halloween, everybody. Yeah. Trying to scare the host didn't really work out that well. But anyway, back to what we were saying. I just lost my train of thought there. Thank you very much. But yes, like horror movies today. That's the topic.
If any movie I think is going to be a classic from like this era, maybe Paranormal Activity, maybe.
Wow. And I've seen some of those, and it's just...
like the first. No, I'm talking about like just straight the first one. Like the
first one.
I enjoyed the first one because I felt like it touched on a new, like I liked how it was found footage, but it was also like this haunting. Like it was like watching Ghost Hunters on Sci-Fi or something like that. But it's a movie.
There's another one that I feel like there's a lot of tension around is The Conjuring. Have you guys seen?
Yes.
I really like The Conjuring.
And like, what do you think about that going into like today's horror?
Well,
like first of all, was it an original take or was it something new?
Well, it's isn't it loosely based off a true story?
Yeah, it's loosely based on like
based off a true story. So they're doing their own idea with it. I prefer The Conjuring, the first one, to the second one.
Right.
But what I liked about the second one is that they didn't do the cliches of horror. Whereas, like, when the cops come in, they see what's happening and they believe the family. They don't think they don't think, oh, you're just crazy. So I forgot the director's name, but he does a good job of kind of breaking the cliches of horror, but still trying to keep it. But I enjoy The Conjuring, and I think The Conjuring could be like Insidious and could potentially be something that people will remember past this decade.
It's funny, so you don't remember the director. His name is James Wan.
I knew it was
James. And it's also the same director who did Insidious.
Oh, well, that makes sense.
So he's on a roll.
It's the same series, though. It's the same characters.
Job.
Like the paranormal investigators, I'm pretty sure it's the same couple. Like I know they're in Annabelle.
It's
I know Insidious, the guy is the in Insidious, the guy that has like the possession. He is in The Conjuring. He's the main guy.
Is he? But is he playing the same character? Do you know?
I don't know if it's the same character because I think it's two different storylines.
Okay, because I know Annabelle, I think, is the same couple because
No, Annabelle.
Annabelle is in the he takes the doll and he puts her in his like collection room where he takes away from all his hauntings.
Dolls is another creepy factor that we go into. I know she doesn't like it, but like that and
one thing I don't
Chucky is
do.
another one.
Yeah, Child's Play.
Like Child's Play. Yeah, it's just like it's a creepy doll factor. I want to bring up two movies that was released this year, and I feel like it's like I'm not a big horror person, but it made me want to go see the movie because I felt it was different.
Yeah.
And one of them was Don't Breathe. Have you guys heard?
Seen that yet.
I haven't seen it, but I watched synopsis of video on movies, and it's suspenseful. It's a thriller. It's not super like gory. There's nothing gory to it. There's killing in it.
Right.
I'm not gonna spoil it, but it's more of a suspense because you have a blind man coming after you in his house. It's kind of like.
Well, first of all, they're breaking into his house and he's blind. So what do you want him to do? And then they realize he's something bigger than just a blind man.
Yeah.
And the same another movie that came out this year is Lights Out, where there's this creature that only appears when the lights are out, and then she doesn't like the lights, obviously. And so I feel like we're like dealing with interesting ideas around. Like, those are at least the two movies that came out this year, but. Quickly, what I feel like you were saying, people might confuse horror with thrillers.
Yes.
Do you feel like horror is kind of like, oh, it's a horror thriller instead of it's just a horror film? Do you feel like we're getting that nowadays instead of just classic horror?
I think we get more suspense in thrillers nowadays than we get horror with gore and
like a
monsters
straight up
and things
horror
like
movie.
that.
Like most of it is like playing on like suspense and like having like a thrilling movie.
Yeah.
Like one that I can think of in the past 2 years was The Green Room.
Okay, that just came out this year, right?
Was that this year?
Oh, this year or last year?
I don't
Maybe
remember.
like an early preview last year, but yeah, I think
But
last year.
The Green Room, I saw that and I was really impressed by it because it's like this indie punk rock band and they go play a set at a skinhead bar out in the middle of nowhere, and what ends up happening is that they witness a murder. Mm-hmm. And what the ushers do is they push the band into the green room, and they're stuck in the green room with one of the guards.
That's interesting.
And they have to like get away, and but that one actually does dabble into horror because like while it's a very very realistic situation, it has a lot of like very uncomfortable moments.
Right.
Like one of the.
So I mean, I'm sorry to cut you off, but it sounds like we are like getting into an interesting field. Like I said before, I think horror might be diving into thriller, and we're kind of getting to that. But that's unfortunately that's all the time we have today. Thank you very much for tuning into our special Halloween edition episode. And okay, there's a ghost in the room now. That's
spooky.
Yes. I'd like to thank our panelists, Chris Markcity, Diana Rodriguez, and Chris Nielsen for trying to scare me.
Trying.
And then thank you, Andi and Devon, for being on the show. Be sure to come check us next week at a new time, not new time, but coming to a time at 12 o'clock until 12:30. Well, follow us on Facebook, and we'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.